Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you for watching. Today's video I am featuring the original Bond Seamaster watch. This is the reference number 2531.80. This is the watch that came out to coincide with the first Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie GoldenEye. This really was the birth of a new generation of Seamaster watches for Omega. Really new design language that has carried over to the present day. The bracelet design was very unique at the time, still is very distinctive to the Seamaster Professional, and pretty much still in use with some minor changes, but the look is pretty much very, very similar. The scalloped edge bezel also has been a steady feature of the Seamaster Professional line ever since this watch came out. This is a watch that, if you've seen other videos on this channel, I'm a big fan of the Seamaster Professional line of watches in general, especially what Omega produced in the late 90s, early 2000s. And while I've covered a number of those watches and featured some that I really like, I had never shown the original Bond Seamaster, and I figured it's time to do that. This watch led to a number of variants that followed it. The successor to this watch had applied indices on the dial, whereas this one has printed ones. The Peter Blake Seamaster Professional 2254.50, which feature a different dial marker design and different sword hands, as well as a different bezel insert font, also derived from this watch, as they share basically the same case. Omega went on to make this watch with a white dial. There's an Olympic variant with a white dial, several Olympic variants actually. There's the black version of this watch that began once the change was made to coaxial movement and applied indices. And then following this watch, of course, 2012, Omega created the SMPC, which is very similar to this watch, except for the fact that it has a solid gloss dial. Now, this is a pretty late example of a 2531.80, and as you can see on the screen here, there's a laser-edged globe on the case back. This is something Omega started to do as a consequence of fighting a couple of lawsuits regarding the sale of its watches by gray market dealers, among which was the store Costco in the United States. And as a result, Omega started putting that logo as a form of additional legal protection against gray market dealing in their watches. So that's how you know a Seamaster Pro watch was produced, most likely I would say probably after 2005 or 6. I might be off on the year slightly, but I don't think you'll find that logo on anything older than that. So while this model 2531.80 was initially produced in the mid-90s, this example in hand here is one of the later ones, probably dating from around 2006. Another way you'll know the approximate age of one of these watches is that the Omega changed the dial markers around 1997. Prior to 97, these watches had tritium hour markers on the dial, and those you can really quickly identify today because they will have aged to a yellow color. So each dial marker on a tritium dial will look sort of like a fried egg, whereas these watches post 1997 have superluminova, which is sort of a pale green and doesn't really change color much as far as I've seen. So the watch here on the right is actually the successor to the 2531.80. This is the 2220.80. Very similar watch, but features a coaxial movement, the 2500 movement. So as a result, that watch on the right is slightly thicker than the watch on the left. Hard to see here, obviously, at this angle, but noticeable on the wrist. Slightly heavier as well. Then there's some minor changes to the dial. The watch on the right has the Seamaster text moved up right under Omega. It's also in red. the indices and logo on the this watch here on the right are applied, whereas on the older 2531.80 the entire dial is printed. The cool thing about these watches, in my opinion, is that they are very distinctive. They don't look like anything else. Number one, and number two, they're extremely comfortable, and number three, they're very well made. And given those three attributes, if you pick one of these up, I think you'd be impressed by the quality for being a watch designed from the mid '90s. It's really excellent, especially when the watch is in good shape and hasn't been worn to death. Another good thing about these watches is the availability. The 2531.80 in particular is really widely available. If you are interested in one of these Seamasters, and I really highly recommend them for the fact that they'll cost you a lot less than something new, and they're, in my opinion, really just as good. But you'll find a pretty large selection of them. They'll routinely come up for sale. Old ones with the tritium dial, if you prefer that look, new ones with the super luminova like this one, and in varying degrees of condition. If you want something that's not exactly pristine so you can wear it with ease every day, you'll find plenty of worn examples, and you'll find due to the abundance, you'll also be able to find really good examples that have not been worn very much, and it's simply a function of the fact that a lot of these watches were sold and for many years. So my advice would be, if you're interested in a watch like this, take your time, and this is not one of those really unusual designs that you have to wait months and months to locate. They're always available. It's just a matter of finding the right deal for you. And as I said, I love all of these Seamaster Pro watches from this period. Really, all of their designs are interesting, and what unites them all is the really high quality. So let me know what you think about this original Bond Seamaster, and thanks for watching.